let's move on to the WTA catch up in Rome because there was lots of action again. Similarly, with the women out in Italy, and yes, Chris, we got to start once again. I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse here, but like throughout the clay season, when we come to this part of the show, because Iga Swiatek is out. Defending champion is out. She lost to Danielle Collins, who actually lost today, I believe, to Lena Svitolina. But Collins defeated Swiatek 6-1, 7-5. And for me, the difference here is that this is more like the first time she's gone out properly early on in a tournament. It feels like before she was losing, but she was winning and then maybe getting to a quarterfinal or a semi-final and then being defeated. But here, going out early, going out in week one, things are not looking good for Iga Swiatek and her French Open title defense.
They're not looking good. I think that's probably the best way of describing it. It's not the sort of preparation she's had previously, and we did talk about this last time, but I mean, she's won a round in Stuttgart and Madrid. She did make the semi-finals, and now she's just won one round in a tournament that she's won, I think, 3 times. So it really is unusual
Is this
for
the
her.
most damning result of the season so far, given the performances she's put in here at the past, the time, as you said, the times that she's won it, and what's happening now?
I still think the loss to Coco Gauff last week was really concerning because that's not what really happens to Iga Swiatek on a tennis court. Whereas you do think some of the players she's faced this clay court season, there are some other things at work there. Like there's the Ostapenko curse that she has in Stuttgart, indoor clay. I mean, Ostapenko, that's a pretty good surface for her. She does have a mastery over Iga. And then the Danielle Collins, they're 2 players, but there's not a lot of love lost between them. So I think there could be some of those sort of personal rivalries where maybe Danielle Collins was particularly fired up after what happened in Paris last year, and she doesn't always get the better of Iga. So I think the Coco Gauff result, 6-1, 6-1, that was an annihilation. But I mean, it's such a different scenario to be going into when she'd won both Madrid and Rome going into Paris last year, which she also won. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what will happen. I do think we're going to see changes in the team, and people are talking about, will it be before, after Paris? I think you probably have to stick with your team for now. I think that's probably what you'd have to do. I do think it's a really tricky one when it comes to what you should do next after that. But I guess you don't want to think about it, do you, at this stage?
What changes would you like to see? Because I've seen talk about, Wim Fissette as a head coach, a sports psychologist, Daria, and that I think there's debate around like how big of an upheaval is it of her team? Could those are 2 pretty core components. Can you go so drastic and remove both of them at the same time, or do you think there is it needs to be a more measured approach if it were to happen?
I think it's very hard to know. I think probably she's not going to get rid of her very close companion. In Daria, I think that probably wouldn't happen at this stage. I think irrespective of what you were dealing with, I think getting rid of your sports psychologist, who was also very much part of your inner circle, and has been there with you for kind of the whole time you've had the success, would not be the move. I think Wim Fissette will need to go, almost irrespective of what happens in Paris. I think if she does win in Paris, I don't think it's because of anything that he would have done in between. I think it's because what's happening between her ears has been sorted out, because we know she has the game to do amazing things. So I think that's probably what will happen. Having said that, I don't think we've really been in a situation where we've seen a player this out of form who is normally so good and so dominant at a Grand Slam. I think you just have to hope that it isn't a case that everything, falls apart in Paris. I think you'd want her to put in a great showing. I think it is just a very, very surprising thing that this has happened. And there were talks about the grass, Joel. I think there's an update there that she will be playing on the grass. And that was, don't believe everything we read, especially when she said there was this Polish publication that did have these rumors. But do you think that maybe that's a good move of not taking the time off and heading straight to grass? She says she wants to improve her grass court game.
Yeah, I think it's I personally still think she would. I personally think a break would be better. Um, so I'm not sure. Even if it's like a week or two off, and maybe play just one lead up event for Wimbledon, I think would be maybe the best approach. But certainly, I think she needs to take one tournament at a time at the moment. And she's dropping to fourth in the rankings. That's her lowest since March 2022. And you spoke about last season how she won the tournaments in the build up to the French Open, had carrying on that great form. Do you see her as a player who can go into a Grand Slam cold, as it were? I'm thinking like a Rafa situation at the Australian Open when he won against Daniel Medvedev. Do you see her as a player who can just come in cold and win a tournament just based on how good her natural ability is?
I think she has had tournaments which she's won where she has had to find form, and there's been a turning point in that tournament. I think she was down and out against Naomi Osaka and she won the French last year. I think there's also been a case that, I think she lost a set against Yul Niemeyer the year that she won, or made a really deep run at the US Open. And it just makes me think that she needs that turning point match where something switches and she's like, you know what, I've got this. And I think it sometimes it comes out of nowhere, and one match can turn around your season. We've seen players who've been match point down. Angie Kerber, I think she won Wimbledon from match point down as well. These stories do happen, and I think last year that result against Osaka, I think she will take a lot of confidence in that result going into Roland-Garros, but it just depends on where her head is at. If she is able to take the pressure at this stage, there is so much pressure on these players' shoulders, and I think that's where you think if it isn't necessarily the place you want to be, then probably do take some time away from the court.
Yeah, and also the draw, I guess she gets dealt, because I was reading today, because of Danielle Collins has lost to Lena Svitolina, she's going to be unseeded at the French Open.
Well, you don't want that name, do you?
Could we get a Collins Swiatek rematch in the first round? Who knows? But that would be absolutely box office. Just to note as well, I mean, she has now had 9 defeats this season. That is the total amount she had all of last season, just to give you an idea of just where her game is at. And it will be interesting to see what happens. I certainly feel like at the moment her serve is just so vulnerable to those big hitters.
It's
Collins,
giving ITF,
Gauff.
Isn't it? It's not giving main tour.
It's odd because the reports I've been reading, it sounds like this has been a focus area for her and Wim Fissette, and I have no doubt they've been trying to work on her serve, but at the same time it feels like as a fan watching it on TV, it's regressed a little bit.
The serve is the bit that goes, though. When you're stressed, when you get tension in the arm, that's the shot you don't go for. It's the shot that you don't hit on the second serve. You kind of just put it into the box and hope your opponent misses. And that's not how Iga Swiatek plays tennis. She took more risks with her second serve. She was doing more with it. So I do think that is a problem, and tends to be when the serve is gone. You're not going to do that well at tournaments. So I think that's why Coco, the serve is on right now. Yeah. She's playing great. And she's able to kind of get those 3 points to give you that confidence. It can really get you on a roll, because she did steamroll past Emma Raducanu today, which was pretty impressive.
And she's going to be the number 2 seed at the French Open. We were going into this event thinking, is it going to be Swiatek? Is it going to be Gauff? Is
Pegula,
it going to be Pegula? It's going to be Coco Gauff. And, she had a very comfortable win against Emma Raducanu, who's had a good time out in Rome. But just on Coco Gauff, do you see her now as, with every match, do you feel like she is the main challenger to Aryna Sabalenka, and rather than as part of the chasing pack, is she just kind of in her own world at the moment as the kind of the second best player on clay, do you think, or do you still think there's work to do?
Well, I mean, her French Open results speak for themselves. She's not lost before the quarterfinals since 2020, and that was when she made her main draw debut. So she's had a quarterfinal, a final, a quarterfinal, and a semi-final. So she really does have her best results of any slam are at the French Open. I think her movement is particularly brilliant on that surface. I think Raducanu struggled to get the ball past her, and I think a lot of those balls that you think would be getting the job done, they are coming back. So French Open wise, I do think she is probably the second favourite, if we want to say. I think, if Djokovic had been in the same form as Iga Swiatek, we probably would say he's still the favourite. But it feels different, and it feels like Coco Gauff's on the ascendancy. And I think there could be a really good chance for her to make another final, or at least emulate that semi-final that she got last year.
Yeah, it feels like Iga Swiatek's loss in form is Coco Gauff's gain at the moment. Just before we move on, Chris, just on Swiatek, there are a couple of tournaments between now and the French Open, Strasbourg 500, Rabat as well, the 250 out in Monaco, in Morocco.
Wow, I've not been to. Yeah, Rabat, Monaco.
What do you think? What do you do if you're Iga Swiatek? Do you cut your losses and go straight to Paris, or do you do a Djokovic and go play a lead up tournament?
Oh, I would play a tournament.
Ooh, okay.
I think I would. I think I would go for the smaller tournament, to be honest. I think that might be the move. I'd not necessarily go for the 500. I think now it's about the confidence game. It's not about the ranking points or anything like that. It's like clear the mind. And maybe getting into Paris wouldn't necessarily clear the mind. I think it might just add to the pressure cooker that is, the warm up to a Grand Slam potentially. But I mean, we will see. I think time will tell.
Yeah. And just finally, a nice story to end on. Martha Kostyuk versus Daria Kasatkina in week 1 in Rome had a really nice ending, Chris, because there was a handshake between Kostyuk and Kasatkina. Now, there is Ukraine have a long-standing policy on no handshakes with Russian and Belarusian players, but they shook hands, and there were some really nice messages coming out from Kostyuk around, seeing actions from Kasatkina and that demanding and deserving respect. So it was a really nice moment between the two, wasn't it?
It was nice, and I think there are times when we've seen people not shake hands of people who have shifted nationalities. Because there haven't been statements that have been put out, but I think that you cannot say that for Kasatkina because she's lost everything really by saying what she has, being so publicly outspoken on the war, as well as being kind of very critical of the laws on the LGBTQ plus community and what it's like to be in that community in Russia. So she couldn't do more really in terms of using her platform in a positive way. And now she has found a new home in Australia. I think not shaking their hands would be a really poor move. So it's nice to see that people are able to unite, and it doesn't have to be about what the flag is next to you. It's also about what you say, and your words have meaning. And I think that Kostyuk has taken that on board here.
Yeah, really, really nice moment to see. And finally, I have to get this in. I wanted to say Naomi Osaka is back. She had a really tough defeat today against Peyton Stearns.
Oh, I thought she was going to get it.
Probably should have won it, let's be honest. Yeah. But Peyton Stearns in that decider was rock solid. Saved 6 of 8 break points. But just going back to your point earlier, just again, promising showing given a player who dropped down to play a WTA 125, played well, won her first title in 4 years, and then sort of backs it up at the top level again, getting to second week. Very, very, very promising.
Very promising. And I think you said you'll see how it goes in Rome before you did use the term Clay Sarka. So I think if she'd have got this one, we probably could have used it without kind of a caveat. So
can we use Bianca Klejrescu now that she also defeated Rybakina in a reversal from Madrid?
She did. She turned that one around, that score. That was very impressive. So I was also thinking, it's been such a long time since we've seen those two in the latter stages of tournaments.
I know. It's unfamiliar.
It is. And then now, I mean, I'm hoping that someone makes a deep run. I think Andreescu's on court now. I think she lost the first set to Qinwen Zheng. So we'll see what happens there. But comeback week on tour.